Before men learned how to control fire and put it to work, it was man's greatest enemy. In much the same way, your emotions can be your own greatest enemy. Or under control, your emotions can make you healthier and happier and improve the lives of people around you. I think of fire in connection with emotions because when you become stirred up, when your emotions control your actions, it affects not only yourself, but the people around you. Psychologists find that control of emotions can be gained by understanding the stimulus-response pattern. When you have certain experiences, you respond with various emotions. Stimulus response. Just as this sort of stimulus produces this sort of involuntary muscular response. Well, that's a rather simplified suggestion of a complex mental process, but you get the idea. Cause, effect. Nature endows us at birth with three general patterns of emotional response. Rage is the response to the primary stimulus of thwarting, something interfering with our behavior, our actions. Fear is the response to loud noises or loss of support. And the emotional response to love is usually the result of a show of affection or favors. And these seem to be the emotions with which we start life. Then as we grow up, many everyday things and social situations become associated with these primary stimuli, partly by a process called conditioning. And so many things and people cause us to respond emotionally. And in general, that's good, for there are many factors involved in a personality. And a balance of emotions is important to a well-rounded personality. But emotions out of control, well, let's take a look at a slice of everyday life to understand how some stimuli can bring about various emotional responses. What might happen to you, or to me, or to Jeffrey Moore? Jeff is an ordinary and healthy and well-balanced young fellow. He usually gets along well with people. And on this particular Friday afternoon, Jeff and his pals are discussing a big triple date tonight.
My dad's going to let me have that car tonight.
Oh, the car? That's super. That sounds swell, Jeff, but, well, I don't know if I'll be able to go. I got quite a headache.
Got a headache, huh?
Yeah.
Well, how about letting Jeff, the old soda jerk, fix you up a snappy seltzer?
Okay. Hey, watch it. You're going Some jerk.
Yeah. Okay, Bub. I saw the whole Y stunt. Now, just suppose you clean it up.
Go on, wise guy. Clean it up. Yeah, it's right on the floor there. Look at the wash woman.
Wise guys, huh? Well, suppose I don't pick you up tonight. I got a darn good notion to let you guys walk to the park.
What got into him? Gee, I don't know.
Why is Jeff angry? What's the stimulus that brings on this sudden emotional response of anger or mild rage? Well, it might be that Jeff feels thwarted as he fails in the fancy trick to impress his pals. So he gets mad at his pals. And now it's later than he thought. He tries a shortcut, hurrying to get home.
Great Scott, who in the world left that there? What a time to water the lawn.
Shortcuts often lead to trouble, and thus loss of emotional control. You've heard, haste makes waste. Jeff is frustrated by the sprinkler, but he asked for it. Of course, Jeff's going to get the car ready for the party tonight. He wouldn't really miss a chance to impress the gang. But, Starter won't work. Again, his behavior is thwarted, and a habit is being developed. A habit of allowing such things to annoy him. Jeff's losing control of himself. His thinking is becoming muddled, and he's careless in his actions. The madder he gets, the worse it becomes. Did you ever hear anyone say, "I was so mad I couldn't see straight"? Severe emotional stress often decreases efficiency. See what I mean? And of course, it's the fault of the wrench. This is called projection. He's projecting the blame to the wrench. Well, we've seen Jeff lose control of himself in rage. Let's see how the rest of the family is doing.
Mother! Mother! Oh, it's wonderful. I love the new dress you made.
Oh, thank you, Joan, dear.
See how the new dress tends to stimulate Joan's love for Mother? This makes both Mother and Joan happier. But how does it affect Jeff? And how does his anger affect the others?
Oh, you're the sweetest, bestest mother a girl ever had.
I'm glad you like the dress, Joan.
Oh, I'm so happy. I could be a model. Or a cover girl.
Hey, what's gotten into that crazy kid's sister?
Oh, Jeff, don't be that way.
Notice how Mother seems to become angry herself because of Jeff's anger. Perhaps she shouldn't, but anger is a violent emotion, and we often see an induction of behavior or spread of emotion to other persons, almost like a contagious disease.
Hi, Raj.
Hello, Jeff.
Say, what have you got? Well, that's my letter. Give me that.
Let me.
Why,
I got the
you
letter.
dirty little sneak. You gonna give me that letter? Are you gonna give it to me?
No.
Okay. I'll show you up.
Mother!
You dirty sneaking brother, you gonna give me my letter?
Stop it!
Will you give me that letter? I'll teach you not to open my mail.
I didn't know about him! Stop it!
Drop that coat hanger.
Sometimes rage, fear, and love are aroused together at the same time. Mother's love of her children and her fear for Roger's safety were mixed with anger, almost rage, at both boys for the part they played in the flare-up. Of course, Jeffrey's family didn't realize that he had been exposed to one irritating situation after another, an accumulation of stimuli which brought about an abnormally strong response. And what did this do to Jeff, this sort of uncontrolled emotional outburst? Well, he regrets some of the things he said, but he can't unsay them. He's tired. That feeling of fatigue may spoil a good time on his date tonight. And if this sort of flare-up is repeated often, it might lead to a permanently warped personality. What could Jeff do to keep better control? Well, we say he could, 1, eliminate the stimulus, 2, modify the stimulus, or 3, modify the response. With these 3 ideas in mind, let's examine Jeff's episode again. To control his emotions, Jeff eliminates the stimulus, the failure to impress his pals, by trying such fancy tricks only when he can do them successfully. But sometimes the trick fails. There are many times when you can't eliminate the stimulus. Try to modify the stimulus. Standing off and looking at himself, Jeff realizes that a slip like that won't really hurt his standing with the gang. Taking it all lightly as a good sport, Jeff impresses the gang a lot more than if he gets angry over such a little thing. It helps to recognize and understand the emotional patterns. Then it's easier to eliminate or modify the stimulus. And there's another, even more valuable way to control your emotions. Modify the response. Rather than get in the habit of getting angry, Jeff can substitute. He can modify his response by seeing the humor in the situation. What good does it do to get angry about this? When Jeff's in the habit of controlling his emotions, his thinking is straighter. Push the button. No starter. Let's see. Pull the light switch. No light. That means something. Reason it out. No horn either. So, must be a dead battery. That's straight thinking, unmuddled by emotional disturbances. And it's a simple thing to call the garage or someone for a push and a recharge. No need to fly off the handle and take it out on the things and the people around. When he tries to understand his emotions and those of people around him, Jeff has less trouble controlling himself, and he and those around him are happier. The more he exercises control of his emotional behavior, the easier it becomes to meet the next situation without losing control.
Oh, how about it? Either the plane or the letter.
And so it goes. A happier time all around when emotions are under control.
Hey, Raj, how about you help me get the car pushed out of the garage so we can get it started and fixed up for tonight? You know, if the car's running, I can drop you off the movies tonight before I go out.
Yes, by a better understanding of the emotional patterns of everyday life, and by knowing how you respond to various stimuli, you can develop better control by eliminating the stimulus, or by modifying the stimulus, or by modifying the response. You can control the fire of your emotions. You can balance your emotions and use them so that your personality becomes more pleasant. And you and those around you are a great deal happier and healthier.
Somewhere, with someone on the job, everything we have is started. Somewhere, on some fertile acre, the plow knifes through soil that abounds in promise. And the farmer, although he plows alone, is not alone. His life is tied in with the lives of many others, of all of us who depend on him and on his mechanized labors. And he, in turn, depends on all of us. Somewhere on a lonely range, the earth trembles under the hooves of cattle on the move. And the man who rides the range alone, if he listens with vision, can hear in the rumble of the herd the beginnings of the rumble of distant machinery in the factories where others will finish the work he has begun. Somewhere, someone sets a blast to erupt rich ores of metal from stubborn rock, and sets men to work in smelter and in blast furnace, in mill and in factory. And thereafter, people, many interdependent people, come to fashion the products of human inventiveness from all the bounty of nature. Wheat. And to grow the wheat, it takes a farmer. From New York to Michigan, to Nebraska to Oregon, and from the Dakotas down through all the great grain belt, 1,000, 10,000, and 100,000 wheat farmers grow the finest of wheat. Raw material for industrial alcohols, for fine finishes. Sugar. And to grow sugar, the sugar farmer. In the bottomlands of Mississippi and the Everglades of Florida, On the Delta and in the Evangeline country grows the sugar cane. Cane sugar, raw material for carbon and lampblack, for solvents. Cotton, and the farmer to grow the cotton. Raw material for fabrics and for lacquers and for plastics. In the Carolinas, in Georgia, Tennessee, and Arkansas, Alabama, throughout the Old South, and even in the Deep South, cotton still is king. In Texas, too, and now in California, there's a great snowy harvest. Cartload by cartload and bale upon bale, as far as the eye can see. Cotton for fabrics and wool for fabrics. On the slopes of the Sierras, a sheep herder. He grazes his flock in the high, cool air that builds thicker, longer, finer, stronger fleeces on milling backs. Mohair goats roam the plains of Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico, where all the silken fleece is tempered by baking days and toughened by freezing nights. Fine fleece of the sheep flock and long stapled fleece of the mohair goats for fine upholstery. Tough hides for tough, durable leather, and it takes tough, durable men to ride the herds to grow those hides to harvest. From the Oxbow to the Laramie, all along the Red River and the Rio Grande, 1,000, 10,000 outflung herds. With sun and with wind, with rain and with sand as her tools, with heat and with cold, nature burnishes and strengthens hide and hair on the open range from Dodge City to the foothills of the western mountains. Perhaps there are jobs you never thought of as being an important part of the great American economy pattern. But every basic task is essential to the necessity and convenience of all in this blessed land of all of us. West or south, no matter where you go or what you are looking for, you'll find somebody working. Working as a part of the vast and intricate and interlocking network of production that leads the raw material to finished product. The turpentine barrel in Florida and in Georgia is the first link in an endless conveyor belt that winds its way from south or east to west and north, from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. In the oil fields of all America, there is a man-made tree that grows, a deep-rooted tree that is to yield a strange assortment of fruits which will be soap and candles, paints and asphalts. From its roots, thousands of feet in the earth, the oil well rig brings forth the harvest of precious sap that is to become a polish and a lubricant and a coloring and a fuel. In the giant test tubes and apparatus of the refineries, the oil crudes here are cracked and distilled. Here are cleaned and purified. Here are separated and sorted into 100 basic materials where 1,000 interdependent industries and 1,000 times 1,000 interdependent workers, managers, and engineers. On the job, commanding great tools, from deep within the plentiful earth come the metal ores with which America is so richly blessed. Copper for bearings and copper for batteries. Copper for radiators and for electrical systems. Copper from Utah and Montana, from Michigan and Wyoming, from Colorado and New Mexico, from Idaho and Arizona and Nevada. And again, more of the red gold metal from Washington and Oregon. This This red, powdery earth is rust. Call it iron ore, call it ferric oxide. It is the touchstone that has magically transformed a civilization. In the raw red earth of Hibbing on the Mesabi, the Clinton and Vermilion Ranges, steel has its beginnings. The mother of steel is iron. There is more than a ton of iron and steel in the car you drive. Several kinds of iron and more than 100 kinds of steel. And from the rusting earth come the ores that are the beginnings of all that rich harvest of metals born of iron and sired by the coal that is mated with iron to make steels of many kinds. Soft coal, hard coal, and the coke that comes from coal to bring steel into being. To purify and refine the steels, coal and coke. To harden steel for roller bearings and for starter motor assemblies, fine molybdenum. To toughen steel in precision parts, fine vanadium. To shape and to polish precise mechanical parts, crystalline quartz. For alloy steels, for stainless steel, for plating bumpers and ornamental trim, bright chromium. For the tiny filaments in electric light bulbs, tungsten. For storage batteries, for radiator assemblies, and for the Babbitt metal in engine bearings, pure lead. And even the more famously precious metal, gold. Any metal can be more precious than gold if it is the one metal needed at the time. Each metal may depend on one or more of the others for successful use. Copper and aluminum are precious in themselves. And all these ores for all these many metals call for many men to dig them from the earth and bring them forth. Any natural lack or artificial shortage may stop the entire economic parade. You may be a lumberjack teamed up in Washington or Maine, in Mississippi or in Michigan, in Florida or Georgia or East Texas, in the Paul Bunyan country or the empire of the Pacific Northwest. The trees you fell and the logs you drive make pulp for paper to blueprint the dreams that put 100,000 men to work on a new model and a new job. The way we do it in America takes a lot of different people working together in a lot of different places. As all rivulets and brooks flow to make the river, so all the wondrous products of forest and ranch, mine and farm flow together. On highways of steel, the many raw materials move, contributions of every state in the Union. On highways of gravel and concrete, roll the basic supplies for the mills of industry. And on the high air lanes of the trackless skies, fly products to the factories for processing. In the textile mills of Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and the Carolinas, sheep wool and mohair are the beginnings of more interrelated jobs for men and for women. Spun by mechanical spiders into gleaming strands, cotton, sheep wool, and mohair are woven by incredibly precise mechanical fingers into luxury fabrics. Corn, the golden treasure of farmers in Iowa, Indiana, and Illinois, and corn of Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Nebraska. One way of changing corn into leather is on the sub-assembly line of the feeding lot, but a shorter way is through the magic of chemistry. Corn is now directly processed into the plastic ingredients of artificial leather. With these rich and glowing colors, the chemists improve on nature. Yard after endless yard of perfect and flawless material bears ingrained in its very structure the colors and designs that will enhance its beauty in the interior trim of the finest motor cars. The tire you ride on, born in a Mississippi cotton patch, in a cane field in Louisiana. Maybe it started when some of its strange synthetic makings were pumped up from the ground in California or boiled up from the earth in Texas. And in the factories of Detroit and Akron and Dayton, men weave and fashion the basic materials, cotton and rayon, sulfur and carbon, rubber from trees and rubber from oil wells. A gripping, springing, live thing, resiliently spry and untiringly useful. Sand and flame make glass, but it takes skilled men to grind and polish glass to optical clarity for safety vision. Seeing to all of it, then again seeing that the finished product is perfect for seeing, means yet another long chain of interdependent jobs from sandpit through factory. The processing of fine ores into finer steels for the finest of product brings into play a great range of facilities. The linkage of jobs to be done along the line is always and infinitely expanding. From flat stock and sheet metal, bar and rod and ingot, come the basic forms to be forged and pressed, to be cut, to be ground, and then polished into many thousands of interrelated but separate and individual parts in factories located along all the railways and highways of America. For the bumpers of your family car, steel from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and steel from Pittsburgh, California, join with the copper from Utah and chromium from Texas for beauty combined with massive protection. The handiwork of men in the mill and men in the smelter makes work for the hands of men in the casting and forging plants. Melted and cast into the cylinder block of the valve and head engine are the gray iron pigs. Here in gray iron are the tough settings for the bone structure of the finest transportation for all of us on all our roads and boulevards. What we harvest, what we dig, and what we produce roll into the work days and paydays and play days of all of us. Here, gleaming and precise, is a differential pinion gear. It took a miner to get it from the ground and a railroad man to carry it to the docks. A crew of merchant seamen cargoed the red dust to the blast furnaces. It took the chemist and the metallurgist to alloy and temper it before it could be shaped. Engineers designed it, using pencils made in Pennsylvania and slide rules from New York. To design and build the phenomenal machine tools to make the machines, it took men in other plants. To build these intricate and wonderful machines themselves took other skillful men in other factories. To guide and to use the machines takes more men with hands that are skilled and finely productive. Behind each such job is the mighty panorama of men at other jobs. All of us making a living and making a fine product for others and ourselves and our families. For all of us who run machines and for all of us who sell other things to other men who run machines. Gauges, to increase the powers of vision 1,000 times. To make the sense of touch so delicate that it can weigh a puff of smoke. To magnify the inch 1,000,000-fold. Gauges that are marvels of precision extend the senses of men in the countless comparisons, inspections, and tests that finalize the perfection of each working part. It takes supreme precision to give us the smooth and effortless driving that all of us want. But men and women, and only men and women, have the judgment to tell right from wrong, to separate the best from anything less than the best. Making sure we have done right by all the finest materials America can supply calls for a whole new category of excellence in service. Vigilance and devotion applied to the ideal of seeing that only the best passes inspection. In the factories, locally built, giving local employment in every great area of the nation. Each factory with its system of communications and intercommunications is in itself a part and portion of other factories, which begin where it ends or end where it starts, to fabricate or fashion or finish the fine products of the thousands of suppliers and the thousands of suppliers who supply those suppliers with all the parts of all the components that help to make up the complete automobile. Today's product of the superbly equipped plants is the life story of 10,000 engineers, with hundreds of supporting departments and thousands of supporting suppliers, completed by the master hands of 1,000,000 factory men who inscribe all their ideas in metal. The careful and meticulous attention to every detail of quality and perfection has resulted in constantly improved performance, efficiency, and stamina through the years. That is the story told in the rhythm of the wondrously precise machines as they dance to the mastery of the worker's hands. each of more than 17,000 parts must fit smoothly, accurately, rightly with some other part. And the men on the assembly lines know that each part will be there when it is needed, because someone plans it that way and manages it that way. The men on the assembly lines know that each material will be fitting and each part will fit, because someone builds it that way and someone checks it to see that it is that way. And so it is that in the finished motor car, 17,000 separate and individual parts are so well designed and so well combined, all to give us just the qualities we demand in our finest of transportation: the beauty and the comfort and the fine long life performance with fine economy. From all the designs and all the plans, all the materials from all the processes, and all the parts made by all the skills of all the men and all the magic of all the machines, move through all the pageant of production in a great orchestration of interdependence, one upon another and another, into a fine climactic assembly of the finest products of all of us, for all of us, for all the farms and all the cities and towns of all our land. And the men who inspect the final product know that each part must be of perfection certified, quality first to last. The harvest of America's finest automobiles keeps rolling off the assembly lines year after year, every year finer and finer. The face of America has been changed. A factory is built out in the open country, and quickly a great city arises around it. Over broad highways made by and made for the automobile, what Americans have produced comes back to serve Americans. So it is that we can live in the country, work in the city. Life in America has changed. So it is that we can make our living on a farm and have a home in town. So it is that we can live where we want to. The shopping centers now come out to meet us. The ever-expanding involvement of people takes on a new dimension. The great new dimension of interrelated use. The new individual transportation means new freedom of movement to all of us, the dispelling of distance, and for country dwellers as for city dwellers, a new and far and wide range of life. New businesses, large and small, have developed from putting America on wheels. It has created more jobs for more people, all interdependent on each other. And all continue to profit from it in ever new ways in each new generation of youth. Putting America's children on wheels has changed our schools. It has made possible better education, has built for better training for tomorrow. And all will profit from it in health and wealth and recreation. Putting America's workers on wheels now means that there is more work within ready reach, more work for men to do, and more ways to get to the work and make more money. On the money somebody else makes. All of us are dependent for the harvest of money we make. In all America, the money we make on any job changes hands many times. And every time it changes hands, it benefits all of us, the miner and the farmer and the rancher, all producing the finest materials. The worker and the machine, all using the finest, the newest processes to do finely by those finest materials, building the finest and the largest low-cost cars and trucks for everyone to haul anything, anywhere, and haul anyone, including ourselves. And so it is that all of us in interdependence live independently on wheels. And all this far-reaching interdependence is the great secret of why it is possible to put America's automobile within the reach of so many people. And all America, all its rock-bound beauty, all its pleasant vistas, all its historic shrines, and all its ways of living, all its sports and recreations, all its scenic grandeur along all its far-flung highways within the reach of all.
Although we commonly consider the animal kingdom as of greater importance, it is well to remember that plants are the ultimate source of food for all forms of animal life. Like animals, plants need proper food and sufficient air and water in order to live and thrive. Here we shall see the life story of a typical plant condensed into a few minutes. Beauty is the principal appeal of flowers. Beauty of color, beauty of form, beauty of fragrance. Also, the flower has a most important and most interesting practical function. It is the forerunner of the seed, and it is by means of seeds that the flowering plants reproduce themselves. The seed of the pea plant germinates or starts to grow by sending a root downward into the soil and a stem upward into the air. With the time speeded up, we shall see the main or primary root branching and developing root hairs near the tips. The roots have two uses, namely to anchor and support the plant and to absorb water and other food from the soil. The latter is accomplished mainly by the root hairs. The stem pushes up through the soil in an arched or bent over position, thus protecting its first young leaves. The stem supports the leaves which need air and sunlight for their work. Oxygen of the air is used in breathing, and carbon dioxide is used in making starch for food. The stem of the pea plant, not being very rigid, depends upon its tendrils for support. The leaves are the breathing organs and also the food factories. The tendrils twine about the string and thus support the stem of the plant. In the picture, see them respond to the stimulus produced by the string. The growth on the inner side of the curve of the tendril seems to be checked by the contact with the string, and this causes it to twine around the support. Note how firmly the tendrils attach themselves to the support. They twine around and around until there is not the least danger of being pulled loose. The tendrils seem to seek a support, and in this apparent search, they seem to avoid each other. Note the swinging of the top of the plant with the tendrils. It seems as if under the control of a brain, as are the voluntary acts of animals. Nothing gives us so good a notion of opening flowers as the motion picture with the time speeded up by time-lapse photography. These remarkable nodding movements are due to the change of the rate of growth on the various sides. If one side grows faster for a time than the opposite, the stems lean away from the side growing most rapidly. It should be remembered that the time is greatly speeded up. In this close-up of the pea blossom, the lateral or side petals are drawn apart, exposing the boat-shaped keel, which is made up of two petals. The keel protects the essential parts of the flower, the stamens and the pistil. Now let me open a wing. Inside is a projection here, which fits into a groove here in the keel. The top or outer tip of the pistil is called the stigma. The stalk of the stigma is called the style, and the lower part of the pistil is the ovary in which the seeds develop. The pistil may be called the female part of the flower. The stamens are the male part of the flower. It is in the pollen sacs or anthers of the stamens that the pollen grains develop. Bees, in their quest for nectar out of which to make honey, may brush the pollen grains from the stamens and carry them on their bodies to other flowers, and thus bring about cross-fertilization, which is so important in the life history of most of our flowering plants. The bee, in seeking nectar from the pea flower, accidentally or incidentally gets the pollen grains on its body, for the pollen grains are ripe and are being shed when the nectar is ready. Another view of a bee visiting a pea blossom. She is probably attracted by the bright color and by the fragrance of the flower. The bee's perception of color is probably not just like ours, and her sense of smell is probably much more acute. In visiting the next flower, it is very probable that some of the pollen grains carried by the bee will be brushed upon the stigma, and thus fertilization will be brought about. We could not photograph pollen tubes growing from the stigma down through the style, for the style is opaque. Hence, these germinating pollen grains were photographed in a clear solution, and they were photographed through a microscope. Note how each pollen grain puts out a long tube, which after many hours will reach the ovule. In the pollen tube, note the streaming of the protoplasm, which is the living substance of the plant. This is an unusual picture. After the male cell has moved out of the pollen tube and has united with the egg cell in the ovule, that is, after the egg cell has been fertilized, the ovule will develop into a seed. Here we see how ovules become seeds. The pollen grains which are carried to another flower and left upon the stigma will germinate and send tubes down through the style to the ovules or the beginnings of seeds in the ovary. The pollen tube will penetrate an ovule, and the male cell, which came from the pollen grain, will move out of the tip of the pollen tube and unite with the egg cell, and that union is fertilization. The egg cell, after fertilization, that is, after it has united with the male cell, which came from the pollen grain, will develop into a tiny plant or embryo within the seed. After fertilization has occurred, the flower withers and the pods grow to accommodate the developing seeds within. The pod continues to develop until the seeds are ripe. The remains of the withered flower may be seen at the outer end. The ripe seeds are a resting stage in the life history of a plant. After the seeds are ripe, the pods burst open as shown here, and the parts of the pod curl up with such energy that the seeds are shot a considerable distance. This scattering of the seeds far and wide is a distinct advantage in wild plants, for in this way they establish themselves over greater areas. The germination of this seed on top of a rock shows the lack of suitable conditions. The proper requirements are sufficient moisture, but not too much, sufficient warmth, but not too much, and reasonably pulverized soil. Here we see the young plant die on account of improper conditions. Contrasted with the last, here is a seed germinating under ideal conditions. Note the root growing downward with secondary roots or branches growing out from the main or primary root. Note the root hairs, which are always a short distance back from the root tips. Note the stem growing upward, that is, in a direction opposite to that taken by the root. In this picture, we have examined the life story of the pea and have followed it from one generation to the next. What we have seen here, you yourselves may reproduce by actually growing these plants in a window box or garden. Let your teacher suggest other experiments in plant growth.
What about bad sleeping habits? George just doesn't get enough sleep. And now in the afternoon, he's tired. It's hard for him to pay attention in class. When the teacher calls on him, George just can't seem to remember things that he really ought to know. George doesn't realize it, but his main trouble is bad sleeping habits. Last night, for instance...
No, Muggsy. Don't rub me out. I didn't do it. Honest, I didn't.
No rat's gonna squeal on me. You know too much, Limpy.
You know I wouldn't sing, Muggsy. We've been pals too long.
Slat saw you in the DA's office.
Sure, I was there, but they didn't get nothing out of me.
Then why was the coppers around here today?
I don't know, Muggsy. I don't know.
You squealed, that's why. You put the finger on me.
You can't do it, Muggsy. You can't. You can't. Oh.
Yes, George has bad sleeping habits. And even when he finally does get into bed, he finds it hard to go to sleep. That's because he hasn't formed the habit of going to sleep at a regular time each night. And it's just as hard for him to wake up in the morning.
George! George! Get up, George.
He's still tired because he hasn't had enough sleep.
Hey, Mom, where are my books? On the mantel, dear. George, close the door.
The morning starts badly, and the whole day goes badly when you get too little sleep too often. And even after class is over, you keep on paying the penalty for bad sleeping habits. You don't have much fun when you're tired and low in energy. Lack of sleep makes it hard for you to do your best. You just can't seem to get into the game and have fun the way the other fellows do. You're irritable and cross, hard to get along with. People don't like you, and you don't like yourself when you're like that. Probably neither David nor George realize how important their sleeping habits are to the way they enjoy their waking up. It's easier for you to go right off to sleep instead of lying awake long into the night. You wake up easily and naturally without having to be dragged out of bed. And most important, your day starts right and stays right. Both David and Martha have learned that good sleeping habits help you get the most out of everyday living.